Welcome to Higher Caliber.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Higher Caliber Podcast. Today we have our cousin, Darren Hesson. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
And of course we have Tim, so that's...
I'm back. 2 in a row, baby.
Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so we got Darren here today. We're going to talk about the Pan Ohio
Hope Ride.
Yep. Right? And we're also going to get to know him a little bit better. We know him, but maybe you guys should get to know him. So if you don't mind giving us a little background about yourself.
Give us a little rundown.
My name's Darren Hesson, obviously, but so I'm an aircraft mechanic, A&P. I'm married, 2 kids. I've been married for 3 years now. So little hobbies. Obviously like to go outside biking a lot, and then just doing stuff around the house. Not too much right now with being a new dad.
Newborn.
With 2. So
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So break this down for us, especially we don't know a lot about it. And this is your 4th year.
Yep. For the
Okay.
Pan Ohio Hope Ride.
Yep. So what exactly do you do for it?
So what the Pan Ohio Hope Ride is a 4-day ride from Cleveland to Cincinnati, and they started in 2007. So I do the 4-day ride, and to do the 4-day ride, you have to raise a minimum of $1,328. So the meaning behind the $1,328 is whenever the Pan Ohio ride first started, the ride was 328 miles. So that's always been like their motto, 328. Whenever you see 328, it's usually for the Pan Ohio Hope Ride. So that's what they did, is they set the minimum for $1,328.
Okay.
So you raise $1,328, and then you're on board for the 4-day ride.
Cool.
How many different rides are there?
So you can do anywhere between 1 to 4 days, because how they have it broken down is you start at John Carroll, and each day you go to another campus. And campuses always vary depending on how they do it, but they have their campuses now set. So each year makes it a little bit easier for them whenever they set everything up. But what was I trying to say there?
I was just talking about the different rides. You said you're doing a 4-day.
Okay. I was trying to go back to the question. But so they have the 1, 2, or 3 or 4 days. And then they also have it this year where they incorporated, you can also do a half day, because the rides, they go anywhere from 70 miles all the way up to 100 miles. And then whenever you do 100 miles, you do a century. So in the cycling community, like a century, that's a pretty big thing if you do a century in a day. So that's pretty cool whenever you do it.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Whenever you do it, sometimes whenever you're going along, if you have the right people and a good team with you, it makes it a lot easier. But there's a lot of times whenever you're in the middle of a ride, and then some people, some do drop off, and then it's just you. Sometimes you do question why you're doing it. You're just like your ass hurts. It's just everything. Your legs, and you learn a lot about yourself whenever you're doing it.
What made you get into it in the first place?
So a good friend of mine, Jeff, he got me on board with it. And so the year he got me on was 2019. And it was a lot, because whenever you do this, if you don't have a bike and you haven't cycled before, it's a big eye opener of what's going on and with everything going into it. But I got a bike, and then I raised the minimum for it. And then I got to also know the team that he was a part of, which was Team MCPC. Andy Jones runs that team, and he has been a phenomenal guy to get to know, and I've known him ever since. So he helped out with making it easier to want to go back and everything about it. So, I mean, it's not just the meaning of the ride, it's also the people that you meet too. So, I mean, it helped out tremendously.
So you've been on that same team all 4 years?
Yes. So, and unless Andy leaves that team, I don't see myself leaving that team. So
are most people teamed up, or do some people just kind of
most people are part of a team. So the team that we're a part of, they used to be Team MCPC, but now we are Agents of Hope. So
that's way cooler sounding.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really cool. One of the teams is I don't want to butcher it, but it's kicking the asphalt out of cancer. I thought that was a pretty.
I'm down for a good pun any day. That's cool.
They did very well with that team, with that team name. So they're pretty cool about that. But most people, they are part of teams, and I don't remember how many teams there are this year, but there's usually like 20 teams or so, and then you got about anywhere between 5 to 30 people per team, and it just varies depending on how big the organization is that starts off each team, or if it's just an individual.
So most people do all 4 days.
Most people do all 4 days, but it's hard to do all 4 days. I'll put it that way.
So where's the first place you stop?
So you start at John Carroll. Yeah. They have like the whole kickoff event, and it's pretty cool because they have everybody that starts, and then it goes from John Carroll, and we're going to go to Wooster this year, and then
where the cows go. Woo! Okay.
Have not actually heard that about that.
I think that's either people say it or it's just my wife. I don't know, but either way, sorry.
No, you're good. But so you'll get there, and then it's just they have the campus always provides like food, nutrition, anything that you need whenever you get there. So it's pretty cool how they do that.
Yeah.
But it's not just whenever you go from each college. So the ride being 70 miles or 70 to 80 miles each day, they do have each stop at, sorry, let me back up there.
Sorry.
But from John Carroll to Wooster, in between about 15 to 20 miles, they'll have a stop at each time. And you have everything that you need there. You'll have chafing cream, anything like that. Because, I mean, you're sitting on a saddle all day. But they got that cream. They got nutrition such as like candy bars, Gatorade, water, anything that you need, really. So it's pretty cool how they have everything set up.
Yeah.
Just to go each ride. Because how we like to call it, what we like to say about it is that we get white glove treatment whenever it comes down to this, because all we have to worry about is hopping on the bike and then just going to each point. That's all we have to worry about, because they have us supported from A to Z, because they have everything that you need to refill with water, make sure that we're good. They even have volunteer bike mechanics that come along. And
that's cool.
Yeah,
your own like pit crew.
It's pretty cool that they have it. Those guys are tremendous about it.
And they support the whole ride, or is it like per team? It's not like a pit crew for your team.
No, it's not a pit crew for each team.
I was actually talking to a guy last night about this episode that we're doing, and he worked EMS details for that.
Did he?
For a few years. And he was saying the logistics that go into it is crazy, because he talked about the bike mechanics and he talked about everybody, all the support staff that go into this and the cars that follow, and how it's just such a big deal, and you guys do get taken care of. So
dude, yes, it's tremendous. It's eye-opening. So the first experience I had about it, and I didn't know what to expect, and to see all the volunteers that come out, because without them, this ride doesn't happen.
Right.
And to have them there is a big support, because I know like whenever you're riding, and they have cowbells. To me, cowbells are extremely annoying, but whenever you are riding and you just have your thoughts to yourself and you're just riding and you just have your head down, all of a sudden you just hear this cowbell. I don't know why, but there's just like this sudden urge, and you're like,
you got a fever and you need more cowbell, right?
Yeah, you need. Yeah, that's exactly the proper way to say that.
Right.
Yes,
that's awesome.
But it's nice to hear that, because you just know that there's people cheering you on, and it just brings you back to why you're actually doing the ride.
Are people, so I've never participated in any type of race in my whole life.
Really?
Just, not yet. Not yet. But I see videos of like, say marathon, running and stuff. And there's always people there like handing out waters and all that crap. Like, is that like kind of the same thing? Like, here's a banana, here's a, like, not actually on a stop, but they're just like, I don't know. Is there any of that?
I think I know what you're saying. I would say yes, because not the same exact thing to where, like you're saying, like a marathon, how you're running by and you just grab that water.
That's what I mean.
We don't do that. Like, we stop at each checkpoint.
And so it would be hard on a bike. Like,
there's there's people that actually do that do not stop. They'll ride 200 miles or something in a day. Like that's insane. They'll have people ride up to them and they'll give them food, and it's crazy.
So they don't technically have to stop at these stop points?
No, I mean, I don't know why they would stop you. I mean, if you can keep going, as long as you're not physically out of it. Now they do have, like you said, they do have EMS volunteers, and they're awesome at how they help us out. Mm-hmm. If they see somebody that's not really coherent and is just not making any sense, and you can see that they're physically not able to go, they'll stop them. Like they're not trying to push people back to a point, because this isn't actually like a race.
Sure. Right.
This is, we're just riding to raise the awareness of cancer. I mean, people are aware of cancer, but this is just to raise money and help out with the Hope Lodge and all that for the Cancer Society.
Sure. It's got to be a nice mental break after like the 15 miles or whatever, 20, would you say 15, 20 miles?
Yeah, it varies depending on how far you're going that day.
So you got to focus on getting from one to the other and not like, exactly. I got to get to Cincinnati. Like,
right. Whenever, if you, just like how you were trained in the military, I'm sure, like if you have a big goal, how do you achieve that goal? You don't look at the end goal.
Yeah, they always use the phrase 50-meter targets, because like in a qualification range, it's like 50 to 300. And the 50-meter targets are like the easiest ones. So it's like that just kind of echoes throughout everything you do.
Taking little nuggets and...
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can do. So how I usually, whenever I'm getting into a rut and you don't think that you can physically go any further, is I'll just look down at, say, my Garmin, because you can load the route to it. And I'll just look down at my Garmin and it'll tell me like a left turn in 2 miles or something like that. And I'll just think of that 2 miles instead of 300 miles.
Yeah. So
whenever you break it down and you just go little bits and pieces at a time, it helps out a lot.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing about this whole process for you? Mentally, physically, like
getting the time to train.
Yeah.
I would say that would probably be the hardest thing for me, because like fundraising, you guys know, like family, whenever I started this liquor raffle that I do for this year, the first 8 days I was able to raise over $1,000. And that was because of family, friends, coworkers. Like there was a tremendous effort on that. And I mean, I'm still doing it, so I expect to be able to reach out a little more. But like fundraising, some look at it as like, whenever you see the $1,300, it's eye opening. I mean, if you haven't done a fundraiser before, to me, it was a little shell shock. But whenever you finally do it and you start doing a little more, that's easier. But the training part, because if I didn't have my wife, if she didn't allow me to do this ride, I wouldn't do this ride. Like this year, because we sat down a couple of times and I was just like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, because we have a newborn.
Right.
Sure.
So now that Blake's born, we do get a little bit of, you get the feel for each child. And since we have 2 now, it's a little more on the plate. So, you just got to break it down but allow her. And then also my in-laws, they're a great support as well. But if you don't have that community around to help out with raising kids and all that, and I know you guys know what it's all about too.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a village.
If I didn't have, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to do this ride, because
it's a lot more than just 4 days once a year. The training's got to be
right.
The training's a lot. Like you don't have to be able to do like 100 miles in each day. You don't need to break it down like that for this ride. It's if you can do 20 to 30 miles and you're not physically exhausted beyond the point that you can't walk or anything like that, then you can do this ride. And if you can't, I mean, you'll go a point to where you're going to know, and then you can sag. And then whenever I say sag, that's the team. That's the volunteer that if you need a ride to the next point, or if you're just had enough for the day, you can reach out to them and they'll help you out.
Load your bike up and take it.
Right. And so that's what I mean about that. It's not just like, if you don't finish the day, you're done.
You're done. Right.
Like
No,
it's
that's
not
cool.
about
Yeah,
that.
it's cancer awareness. It's like you said, yeah.
Right. It's not the, was that Tour de France?
Tour de France.
Tour de France.
Those guys are insane.
Yeah. 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 So finding the time's got to be tough, but
I would say for me, that's the hardest part.
I mean, is there anything else to do to train for it besides like doping and jumping on your bike?
Are you natty or not?
I am natty. No, not Lance Armstrong or anything like that.
So, I mean, so you're riding your bike. Are you doing anything else? Are you in the gym? Are you changing your diet?
I'm not in the gym. So I stepped away from the gym because of the whole, I got kids at home. I got a wife. You got a home. Like I stepped away from the gym, I think 3 years ago, because it took a lot of my time. And I do still work out. I do a lot more at home than anything. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of kettlebell workouts now because I don't do like the powerlifting whatsoever. I do more of the kettlebells for mobility, just stability. I don't do it to try to get jacked or
like
anything
functional
like that.
fitness type of
exactly.
thing.
Sure.
And so that's what I do a lot of the time. So I have a program that I follow and I'll do that while I also ride as well. So I try to ride at least 3 or 4 times out of the week. And it's not just all on my bike. It's also on a stationary bike because I ride with Echelon and that has helped me out tremendously. So last year I did that and that was probably the best physical shape that I was in for that ride and felt good.
What kind of bike are you riding?
So I have a Giant Contend SL2.
I got a Giant too.
Right? I mean, I like them.
He uses his.
I've used mine a couple times.
You need a backup bike? Tim's probably got one for you.
What kind of bike is it?
It's a mountain bike.
It's a mountain bike. Yeah, I'm not riding
sorry.
that. I'm not riding that.
I'm
on
not
this ride.
to the. I know Huffy, Schwinn.
Dude, there's a difference between bikes.
There's a huge difference.
And I found that out when we started me and Rodney started riding on the bike trail. Like, well, we're going to ride. We got mountain bikes, right? Well, he had one and he had a Giant, right? I'm like, I'm going to get into this, but I don't want to spend a bunch of money. So I went to Walmart, right? And if you want to work out, buy a Walmart bike. Because I was cooking, dude. And, I'm out of shape or whatever. And this was years ago. And I'm cooking on this Walmart bike. And I'm like, dude, he's like, just coast. Like, take a break. I'm like, I can't. It doesn't coast. And seriously, it doesn't coast.
Yeah,
Walmart bikes don't coast.
There's no coasting to it.
Seriously. Like, you can quit pedaling, but then you just go, like you stop.
Yeah.
And then I bought a Giant. And I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And you can't, like, for this ride, you can't have a Walmart bike for it either. Like, it would
be 10 times harder on a Walmart bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I don't know if you'd be able to complete it on a Walmart bike.
If somebody did it on a Walmart bike, they are a beast.
I got to ask that question now. I'm like,
I'm sure somebody's done it.
I feel like you could get a lot of good fundraising if I would probably pay somebody to be like, I want to see this dude complete it. So here's some.
Like, look, I'll give you $3,000.
I don't know about $3,000.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. If you don't complete it, you owe me $6,000.
Ooh, are we bartering on?
I don't know.
Cancer awareness.
I don't know. There's got to be a spread for everything, right?
Is there a running sheet on who's raised the most money, or do they like?
Oh yeah, so if you go to the Pan Ohio Hope Ride event page, they have everything broken down. You can see everybody who signed up for it, how much they've raised. You can see each team. They rank everybody. Mm-hmm. So right now we are 3rd the last time I checked, and we're just below 40,000 that we've raised.
And that's your team, right?
Yeah, that's the team.
Okay, perfect.
That's cool.
Is there any caps on like how big your team can be or anything like that?
I don't think so.
No.
Just I haven't heard any.
I do have a question. So you're on a team. Mm-hmm. What kind of team aspects go into your riding? Like, do you guys train together? Do you guys just compete together? Do you try to stay in a pack or is it just like
flying V?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. So there's a lot of the guys. So our team, there's a group of guys that usually lead the pack in regards to all of the Pan Ohio ride because they call them the pain train. And the reason why they call them the pain train is because these guys can probably average anywhere easily for the whole ride, the whole day. They can average anywhere between 18 to 20 miles per hour.
That's cooking.
That is cooking. Like for me at this point where I'm at physically, I can comfortably go for or average, I should say, 16 to 17. And I feel good about that.
That's
These
pretty
guys,
freaking crazy.
That's
too.
cooking
Yeah.
too.
like yesterday, I did 40 miles and I was able to average 16 miles per hour. And I was like, that I felt good about that.
Right.
And these guys, and because you got to take a lot into account with, this isn't just, you're going through Southern Ohio where it's flat. We're going from the east side of Ohio all the way down to the west side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's anything you can think of. You got hills, it's flat, you got headwinds. There's a lot to account for and that you don't really think about until you're actually out there on the bike.
And are these is it like a state route most of the time?
There's a lot of,
it's not a freaking bike trail.
No.
Right?
So there's actually a trail. You start and you go from Lake Erie and you end up at the Ohio River in Cincinnati, and it's the Ohio to Erie Trail.
So it is a trail.
There is a trail, but it's the same thing in regards. You don't just have like one single paved trail that goes all the way down.
Yeah.
You ride a lot of roads and you ride a lot of trails too. And it is paved, so it is nice. So it's just not all gravel because we couldn't do it if it was gravel.
Right.
Because you have a road bike and your tires are going to pop.
Right.
There's only a certain amount.
Your tires are tiny.
Yeah. Well, so mine, I run a little thicker just because, it's not a race, so I don't need small tires.
Sure.
So my tire actually last year, I maxed out what my bike is rated for. And so I have 32s on mine, and there's barely even a clearance between my front forks and my front tire. So you have to put it on a specific way, because if you don't and it's misaligned, if you're going down a hill, that happened to me last year, that tire started smoking. And I was like, I was going 40 miles an hour down the hill. And then all of a sudden I'm like, it smells like something's burning. And I look down and I just see smoke coming off my front wheel. And I'm just like, I got to get that looked at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we make to the next stop, and then got the guy looked at me and he was like, that's not good. So he took.
What? Sorry.
I was just say he took care of it and went on with the rest of the day.
Yeah. When you guys are you guys like sleeping like on one of the campus places?
Yeah, so it's just like we sleep in the dorms. That's what we do.
Cool.
So there's usually about, I don't know, whatever campus that we're at, they have the dorms that they'll give us. They'll give us room numbers. It's just like staying in a hotel pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Not as nice staying in a hotel, but
right.
They do pretty good with taking care of us.
It's better than a cot for sure.
They feed you and everything.
Oh,
it's
most times if you do this ride right, you will actually gain pounds. You
gain
won't
weight.
actually burn. You will actually gain weight. Every year that I've done it, I've gained about 5 pounds whenever I do it.
No kidding.
And I
just carbon up.
You
like
will eat, and they have enough food to last you, and you can eat as much as you want.
No kidding.
That's why, going back to the white glove treatment, that's just, we really only have to worry about getting on our bikes. I mean, we do have to worry about making sure our bikes are maintained, which I feel like everybody does a pretty well job with that. Because if you ride this, you know the basics, you can do that, but there's more than enough to feed you.
Heck yeah.
Is there a certain start time when you get back from the dorms, or are you just kind of all go?
Well, they give us a window. It's not just like you have to start at 6 a.m. and you got to end at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
They give you a window to start because they're there for a certain amount of time. Like
right.
You're talking about logistics earlier.
Yeah.
They have to be able to go to each point to meet,
Sure.
Whoever's in the front. They got to make
Right.
sure that they're set up so that way that person's taken care of. And
Right.
I've had this discussion with a couple of them that actually run the program, and that's hard to do because you don't know every year how many people you're going to have volunteering. So you need to break it down. And whenever somebody, from the first person that starts, you have to usher people, you got to get out by a certain time. I think it's like 8 p.m. is the latest that you can leave the dorm or whatever. And then you have to usually finish. It depends on the mileage, but at the end of each day, you have to finish at a time. And if you don't, then that SAG vehicle that's in the back, they're like, all right, we got to, everybody's
pick up the stragglers.
Yeah. So they'll have to pick them up, and then they'll have to take them to, the campus, the destination for that day. They'll take them there.
Awesome. How many people generally are in this ride?
So it varies. So the first year I did it was the biggest year that they did it, and then obviously COVID happened. So you're going to take a bit of a hit, but we get more and more our riders each year. So this year we're at 300. I think the year I did it, we were just over 500 riders, and then we eclipsed the $1 million mark the year that I did it. Now this year, our goal, the last time that I was reading, was to match last year's, which was $855,000. So, but right now we're doing pretty well. I think the last time I checked was currently how much everybody as a whole for this event has raised over $355,000.
Nice.
So,
and when is the event?
July 25th to the 28th.
July 25th. Perfect. Excuse me.
So you're doing the whiskey raffle.
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell people how to?
Yeah, tell us about that.
Going?
So currently, right now, I started at the beginning of the month. And so obviously June 1st, I started it. And what is today? June 10th. June 10th.
Yep.
Currently, I'm sitting at $1,100. And my goal is to raise $2,000. But the actual event itself, or I should say the liquor raffle, the liquor itself is worth up to $500. And it's just a variety of liquors, whatever.
Something for everybody.
Right. And so I've got that covered, so I'm going to have that for the second drawing, and I'm also having another drawing for it. So that'll be worth $100. So the first ticket will be $100, and then the second will be the grand prize for the liquor.
I forget what you have it. One ticket is how much, and then it's like $5 for.
So one ticket is $5, or you have 5 tickets for $20. So that just sort of helps everybody out. I feel like it's a little cost effective for, if you want to get involved with it, and it also raises money.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Well, we'll make sure we link that on this episode.
We'll link it, make sure everybody,
if you want to donate.
Yeah.
And you don't just have to donate to my cause whatsoever. You can also donate for the American Cancer Society too.
For sure.
That's who it's ran by, right?
Correct. So the whole event, the Pan Ohio, is ran by the American Cancer Society.
Right. Yeah.
And then the event, the ride, because they have more than just this for raising money. But this ride is the American Cancer Society Pan Ohio Hope Ride.
But if you wanted to donate, you might as well donate to Darren because it's going.
I wouldn't mind it.
It's going to the American Cancer Society.
Right.
All your proceeds, 100% of your proceeds are going.
Correct.
Going there. So you'll make sure that it gets there.
Right.
So that's very cool. But yeah, we'll definitely link it and get you some donations.
I appreciate that.
I still plan on donating. I haven't forgot about you.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
That's very cool. What was I going to say?
We're going to talk about airplane stuff, weren't you?
Yeah. Is there any? So I do have one more question. So you talked about, kind of how you got into it, but before your first race, I mean, I'm sure you've ridden a bike, but did biking interest you at all?
No, absolutely not.
At all?
Come on, man. We used to bike all the time. Granted, we were below 13, but I mean,
I remember wrecking bikes and all the time, dude. But so I
never really thought about it, and I didn't really have a purpose for it because I had different things going on at that point in my life. Sure. And then whenever I got involved with the Pan Ohio, that opened up my eyes to a lot because I didn't really think about riding before. And then whenever you do it and you're just riding, it's a nice way to clear your mind.
Sure.
It's
some therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's not just because I would always just go to the gym, and because that's how I've always just blown off steam a lot was just go to the gym and then
lift heavy circles,
pumping some iron, pumping some tests.
Well, I don't know for me about lifting heavy circles, but it was a good way to, relieve some stress and just come down from the day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I got involved, personally, you guys know how it is, but with how our family's been affected by cancer. Yeah. So whenever I got involved with that and then stuff just started happening with our family, then it really put a lot in perspective.
Sure.
Because the statistics say that every 1 in 2 men will get some form of cancer in their lifetime, and 1 in 3 women will too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sort of looking at it as if cancer affects me at one point in life personally, whenever, like if it hits me,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to sort of put myself in those shoes of those individuals that are doing it right now. Because this ride, what it really means for me is that whenever somebody's going through cancer, because if they don't have anywhere to go, because if they're out of state and they're coming to Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
the Cleveland Hope Lodge allows them to actually take a deep breath, not have to worry about, getting a hotel, because they've got medical bills. And I don't know about you, but I don't have money just sitting around to where you can pay this stuff off like nothing.
Yeah, medical bills are insane.
They are.
And insurance honestly just doesn't help. Like
it helps to some form.
I think it does, but that's another discussion about how insurance is a sham. But I mean, picking and choosing what they want to cover, and if you have, true. You've got this cancer diagnosis, you are absolutely correct. Like the amount of stress of that is enough,
right?
And then you have medical bills on top of that. I mean, and you might know, but we, like in EMS, run on a lot of people that are sick, right? Mm-hmm. Like they truly need to go to the hospital, and they won't because they say, I can't afford it. You know what I mean? And you have to, right then and there, as they're, I don't want to say dying, but as they're having their medical emergency, you have to say, you
don't have a choice.
They have a choice.
Well, I mean,
but you have to try to explain to them that,
I shouldn't say they don't have a choice.
If you let this go on, you're not going to have to worry about anything because you're going to be dead, So,
half of them will.
And it really sucks because that's what's in their head. I can't afford to go to the hospital. I can't afford this ambulance ride. So, and that sucks, but it's good that there are other organizations out there that can help with things, and you're doing a good thing. So
I'm just helping raise money for it, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything for it.
Well, you do. I think you're doing a lot,
I mean, whenever you look at it, it sort of is, but whenever you go through the ride and you do it, it is a lot for those 4 days. But whenever you break it down on the volunteers and then the American Cancer Society as a whole and what they're doing with the Hope Lodge and the cancer patients that are affected by cancer, but it feels good knowing that we're doing it for a good cause. But whenever you look at the grand scheme of things, just as a rider, I don't feel like we do a whole lot. We just ride.
Right.
But we do the fundraising, and we do a lot of that regards.
Right.
But that's just how I sort of see it sometimes.
Right. Sure. I get that.
I don't want to don't get me wrong. Like, it feels good being able to go from Cleveland to Cincinnati. Whenever you cross that finish line, it is an amazing feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you take a deep breath and you look at what the purpose is, that's just how I sort of see everything.
Right. And everybody's, I'm sure, has their own feelings.
Oh, absolutely. Either way, if you feel great or at the end of the day, this is an awesome thing that we're doing.
But ultimately, everybody does it for their own reasons or whatever. But ultimately, I think everybody has the same end goal. They all want to help something. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not spending 4 days raising money for yourself. You know what I mean?
Correct. It feels good to be able to raise that, and just because there's some, I don't know. So some guys, they're already at like $10,000. I'm like, because I know we've talked about different stuff before, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how these guys just raise $10,000. It's awesome that they do great, but I'm like, they've spent years.
Sure.
And they've built connections, right? Yeah. Like, they have those connections. That's how they do it ultimately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get there.
Yeah, I think I will get there, because I honestly, as long as Sarah lets me do this, and as long as the kids and my health allow me to do this, I want to do this, because it's not just about the cancer whenever you think about it, because in the long run, as long as you're physically active, it helps you out long-term health wise too. So, I mean, I'm sort of looking at it all aspects, but it gives me something to push me along.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it as well.
Are you, obviously you also live in Ohio, so you can't train, you can't ride a bike outdoor year round, but like, how often are you training?
I think we already asked them that. what'd you say, like 3 or 4 days a week?
Yeah, I do. Well, I mean,
year round. Like, is this like, okay, I know my race is in July.
Oh yeah, do you ramp it up right before the race, or do you just consistently try to? Well, nothing's consistent with 2 little kids,
right? That's what I mean. Just more of more of looking at it from a year than right. Okay.
So usually in December is whenever I really start cracking down on it, and that's where like the stationary bike with Echelon comes into play, because that's what I did last year, and that's what I plan on doing.
Those Echelon bikes, don't they have like a big screen on them and they like see a map, or am I crazy?
No, so it's pretty much,
isn't it like a Peloton, but
it's exactly like the Peloton. Okay. It's just a different.
Peloton,
it's like
Peloton,
you nerd.
Pelotor's the Ear Pro. Sorry, or Peltor, whatever. Sorry.
No, you're good.
We're not sponsored by either of those yet.
But
they're not watching.
Yeah, they're definitely not watching. I'm gonna hashtag them.
Okay, do it anyway.
No, so whenever you think about like the Echelon or Peloton, it's like an Apple or a Samsung, pretty much. It's just what people prefer.
Yeah.
But so mine, the Echelon, it's just like a stationary bike, and you can do live classes or classes that have already been done. That you can just go back and you can do them, and they do them in regards to, you can do a hills ride, Tabata, Fusion. They just have different classes. Like they're different types of rides that you can do. Like one's for endurance or one's for power. They just have it broken down, just like any other training program would be.
That's cool.
But I like them, how they break them down, because whenever you start off, you can slowly progress yourself, and you don't have to worry about going outside and doing all that. So that's what I like about it. And it allows me to get on the bike. So the first time, like this year, whenever I got on the bike, it was a straight trail and it was flat, and it was a 14-mile trail, and I was able to average like a 17.5 on it. And I felt great about that, because the year previous, I was probably around like 15 miles an hour at that time whenever I first got on the bike. And so I felt good because I was a little further ahead. So that Echelon, the stationary bike, definitely helped out a lot this year.
Very cool. Do you have any experience? That's its own machine, right?
Right.
What about like an indoor trainer where you use your bike? Have you had any experience on those?
I have. So the
That's
trainer, there's a lot of stuff that you can actually do.
It's I thought about maybe getting one of those. Just, I don't know.
So the one I first had, I don't remember the type it was, but it's just the one that you just put your bike on the rear wheel, and it's just got like a bearing that you set the wheel on, and then you can just ride. But the trouble along with that I was trying to look at was that if you do those indoor trainers, that puts a lot of wear and tear on your own bike.
On your bike. Okay. That makes sense.
That's why I was like, I just want to take a step away and just do like a stationary bike. So that way, if that, fails on me, that my actual bike that I'm riding in the event doesn't.
And you're buying something that's meant to be rode indoors, not just retro.
That's also fair. But they have a lot of different stuff to where, they have one big program called Zwift, and that is all over the world. People can just it's a subscription, and you can, I don't know how to really describe it. It's like a virtual world that you can see on your screen, and other riders, they'll have like a 3D rider that you have.
That's cool. I've seen videos of that.
You can see the path that you're going.
You can
race people. And then also to the cadence, whatever you're at, it also varies depending if you're going up or down. The resistance and your cadence always.
If me and Tim did that, he'd hook something up to a drill and just like
just sitting there drinking a beer,
swapping Ryobi batteries.
Let me ask you this, and I just thought of this. So e-bikes became very popular. Yeah. Are those allowed in the Pan Ohio?
They are not allowed.
They're not allowed.
Dang.
So because they had that conversation last year, and they were asked if they were able to do that, and they were talking about it, and then they ultimately said no, because the whole purpose of it is to get on a bike. And
I have another question. So I see either people with disabilities or they have different variations of their bicycle, whether they're cranking with their arms. Are those people also in the race?
I haven't seen very many. So the first year I did do it, one guy, he's physically fit. He, what's the bike called where you can sit in and you pedal with your feet? They're way low. I don't remember exactly what they're called.
Yeah.
But he did that, and I was tip of the cap to him, because that that's a whole different beast whenever you look at it.
Yeah.
Hey, you can do it now.
Why couldn't I do
They
it
let
before?
people like you in. Why not?
What do you mean like me?
Disabled.
Listen, I'm on a spectrum. I don't know whose spectrum I'm on, but I had that conversation yesterday.
I think we should get Tim to commit to some sort of run.
Dude,
Like a 5K or?
Yeah.
I don't, maybe someday. I've never been able to run.
Well, that's why you set one ahead and then you train
Dude,
for
you know
it.
what I'm training for? I'm training to lift weights right now. I'm doing good. Just let me fight my own demons, okay?
Consistency is half the battle.
I've been pretty consistent.
I'm going to sign you up.
That's cool, dude.
Then I'm going to get the whole internet behind me. It's going to be like, what's his, Bam Margera's dad.
Did he run a 5K?
I don't know, but he's always putting posters up like, don't feed Phil. Come on, bro.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, I'll schedule it for next year.
Maybe
next year's going to come around maybe next year.
This time
There's
next
always
year.
next year.
This time next year.
Have you?
I'll run it with you, obviously.
You will?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll be on your back. Be like a ruck march. I'll be the ruck. Have you wrecked?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Last year, so I was riding with a team called the Turtle Herd.
The turtle herd.
Was this at Penn, Ohio?
Yes, this was during Penn, Ohio. This was actually in Dayton.
Okay.
And so if anybody in the Dayton area that has any connections with their trails, can you please tell them to update their trails with some, because it's awful. It's like a speed bump every 3 feet.
Really?
Their trails are awful.
We'll
around
get mad
Dayton.
on that.
Yeah.
But but we left Dayton last year and we're going to Cincinnati, and it was probably like 20 miles in. We're going down. There's just a line of us going down this trail, and it's just bumpy. And I just take a swig of water, and I got one hand on the bars. I hit a bump, and I just shot off that trail so quick. I didn't even know what happened. All I thought of as soon as I was going in there was something was going to break. Because usually if you're going, because we were cruising at least 18 miles an hour.
You mean on your bike or on your body?
I was going to break something on my body.
Okay.
Because on those trails, there's not a guardrail or some sort. There's nothing soft that you're going to land on. Usually more times than not, you have rocks, you have trees, and it's just a lot of unknowns whenever you're going through there. But I shot off the trail so quick that all I could do was just grab my bar and my handlebar, and I just threw it one way, and I just flipped over top of it. Luckily, nothing broke. At the end of the Penn, Ohio, my left ankle was swollen like a grapefruit. It was throbbing. I'll tell you that. Like during the ride, no, it didn't really hurt, nothing like that. And then at the end of it, whenever everything settles down, that sucker hurt for probably 3 weeks. Dang. And I will say my back, that was hurting for a month. Like it hurt to sit.
Yeah.
Dude, those wipeouts,
some people get messed up, dude, because you guys are cooking.
Right. And that's why I was like, I don't know how I didn't break anything.
You're normally worried about the people behind you, right? Like you're
worried about the people in front of you, behind you, because if you ride by yourself, which I do a lot, if you ride by yourself and then you go into a group of guys, it's a lot different because you still communicate. And whenever you're riding, you're usually about a foot or less away from their back tire, from your front tire. And you got to talk to them and all that, because like the people in the front, they'll tell you like bump or something like that to worry about. And I did hear bump during that ride, so I will say that. But whenever I shot off, the guys behind me, it was a little funny because we can laugh about it now, but they said that they didn't know where I went because it was just covered, because they said they saw me go on a foot and then I just disappeared.
Did they stop?
Yeah, they all stopped. That's why. So
because it's not a race, like, hey,
right. That's why whatever I think it was the day previous that I started riding with the group, they were like, hey, if you guys want to ride, you guys can hook on. And I was like, I want to push myself a little more. So I joined up with them and I was riding with them. And whenever you think of a team, that's what they were. And that's what I really enjoyed about riding with them. So I hope to ride with them again this year, because that's my intentions right now, is to ride with them. just so that, I mean, they push you. And then also what meant more to me was that whenever I wrecked, there's 18 guys, all of them stopped. And all of them were like, hey, you okay? Everything was good. We can laugh about it. But then also whenever we got to the next checkpoint, there was a mechanic there and my gears were slipping. So one of the teeth were bent from the wreck. So we probably sat there with a punch for 10, 20 minutes, something like that. And they all stayed and they waited.
That's cool.
So that's what I really appreciated about everything that they were.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So
Any questions? Other questions about the riding?
I don't think so.
Very good. Tell me about being an airplane mechanic. It fascinates me.
In regards to, being an airplane mechanic, there's a lot that goes into it. Like you have your structures, you have avionics, and then you have your mechanicals. I'm more mechanical. Avionics and structures, I would like to have a little bit more experience in those because those interest me a little bit. But
are you certified to work on those things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're
like the skill set, whenever it comes to that, there's a lot of guys that, they started off with structures and they are fantastic at structures, but they're not good at avionics. And that's the same with avionics guys. They're very good at avionics. They can shoot wires all day. They're very good at pinpointing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like a plumber electrician scenario where they work around each other and hate each other? Or
for the plumber electrician, I would say yes, but the hating portion of it, there's not like a rival between any of that, because once you get your A&P, you're pretty much able to work on everything. And you can also so whenever you go for your A&P after 3 years or so, then you can go for your IA, which is your inspection authorization. Whenever it comes to like having your A&P, your IA is your highest rating that you can go for. So that way you can do like little piston poppers and all that stuff. Whenever they have like 100-hour inspections come up yearly, you can work on those and sign them off. Gotcha. But if you have your A&P, you can't do that. You can't sign off for the annual. That's pretty much the gist of the difference.
Gotcha. Are you, is there anything else that you can't work on or not work on, but that's what I meant to say. You said you couldn't do the inspections or whatever, but
with just your A&P, yes.
Right. Can you work on anything from like, here's the planes I know, a Cessna to like a Boeing, like a jet?
Yeah,
like
you can do all that.
Do all that.
You just can't. So the only difference is you have to have like your IA to sign off like the annual, and your A&P says that you can do the work, but there's certain things that you can do as an A&P if you're working on like the little piston poppers, but you have to have an IA present looking over the work.
Kind of overseeing.
Correct. So that way they can sign that off.
Perfect.
And make sure that it's done correctly.
Right.
Because you can't just pull over a plane on the side of and then whenever you're in the sky, you can't just pull over or anything like that. Like saying that too, there's a lot of fail safes for everything.
Sure. There's got to be, right? Because you're
right. Like even with like being under the FAA, there's not a lot of like fatal accidents that happen in the U.S. And there's a reason for that, because the FAA learns from mistakes that have previously been done, and they've learned.
I'm not saying one bad thing about Boeing. Not one bad thing.
I wasn't even going to bring it up.
I'm not
whistleblowing nothing. Not that I know anything.
Nothing.
But yeah.
You can end up missing.
Yeah.
Suicide somehow.
He suicided himself.
Yeah. No, I just thought I'd let you know.
And how long have you been working on planes?
So this August will actually be 10 years.
10 years.
10 years. It's weird to say. So before I started, I was talking to my dad about, starting in your career and all that stuff. And he said your first 10 years will seem like they go so slow, but whenever it happens, it just gets quicker. Mm-hmm. Just like having kids.
Definitely.
How you feel about like whenever they're raised. Like I see our son, he's only 2.5, but you just look back at, you see Blake now and she's a newborn and you're like, Braxton used to be this size, and you just look at how it's developed.
Yeah,
definitely.
And you miss those portions.
Definitely.
And they only say it goes by quicker.
It feels like once the not waking up 5 times in the middle of the night stops, then it just goes boom.
Yeah. Well, Cole's 9. I mean, you see how big Cole is. He's huge.
Almost bigger than me.
And I was like, is that Jared?
Yeah.
You're a full-on adult.
It's crazy. I had another question about airplanes.
Tim loves airplanes.
Dude, I love flying in airplanes. And then for the longest time, I was like, I love flying in airplanes, but I would never, ever want to control one. It's kind of been creeping on me. Like, I kind of want to fly a plane. I don't know.
I'm a pilot.
There's a lot of different guys that have different career paths, and they're in aviation. Now, I will say I don't see myself ever going for my pilot's license or anything like that because I don't have any reason to.
Right.
Like, I've already got enough on my plate. Being a pilot, just going through the training to get that license, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
I mean, you don't take test flights like a car mechanic takes test drives, right? Well, you don't take test flights. Like, I got to make sure this baby runs good.
There's certain things we do have to go, a test flight, but for the most part, we can do most checks on the ground, make sure they work properly.
That makes sense. What's your work-life balance as a mechanic?
So currently, I feel like where I'm at, so I work third shift, and usually that doesn't work well with a lot of people with kids, but that works out well for me. So I've always had a weird schedule, I'll say. So has my wife, Sarah. So we've always just been, that's normal to us. So I work Wednesday through Saturday one week, and then Wednesday through Friday the next week. Okay. Just so we can have that weekend or so. But the work-life balance, it's not bad whatsoever because since we work 24/7, usually with like maintenance shops, if you're 24/7, then you got like let me take a step back. If you're not 24/7, then there's a lot of overtime on the table, and usually people are working 50, 60 hours a week. Well, right now, since we're 24/7, we have that coverage. We don't have to push past 40 hours a week. So it's nice to be able to do that at this point in my life.
Right.
Do I miss it? Yeah, I really do miss that because it was always, whenever I started, first 6 years of my career were, we got to get this plane done. So we got to work a lot of overtime. There were some times where you'd be working, I think the most hours I worked in 1 week was 70 something. And that was a lot, but I didn't really work 70 hours much.
Sure.
But whenever I did start off with FlexJet, where I'm currently at, I did work part-time in GA, which is general aviation, the piston poppers that I was talking about, just to learn a little different aspects in the field. Sure. And it is a lot different from GA compared to corporate, which is where I'm at currently.
Yeah.
Are you unionized?
No, absolutely not.
Do you, are you limited to fixed wing? Can you do helicopters?
We can do helicopters. Yes.
Have you ever experienced in helicopters at all? Or?
I have not experienced helicopters. It is an interest that I would like to do.
Does interest you? Yeah.
But I would like to do a little bit more with it.
Hell yeah.
Helicopters are sweet.
Helicopters are sweet.
How they operate, it's pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So you have Pan Ohio. Are there other rides in other states that are like very similar?
There are, but I don't know much about them.
Gotcha.
I've seen a couple, but I don't remember the names of them. There's one in...
Is there like a Pan Indiana?
Indiana?
Actually, yes. I have seen that.
Panianda?
I forget, but it was Indiana that I saw. But that was, I think their event kicked off last month.
Do they? Do you have any interest in riding any other events or doing anything else other than just this race? I would, but it's a lot to ask upon that because usually with rides like that have fundraisers, to be able to participate in those, you have to raise money, and that's where the problem lies for me because there's only a certain amount of times in a year that you can do the same thing of, hey. Give me your money kind of thing, Yeah. Hey, get this guy some money.
I got 5 liquor raffles going on right now.
I got all the liquor.
But that also, like the liquor, the tickets, like that all comes out of pocket.
Sure.
So
yeah, you don't want to. You can't really front.
Have you found a certain platform? Because I know you're on Facebook, but do you use anything else to raise money, like word of mouth? Word of mouth, Facebook, and just trying to reach out to different businesses. So each year I keep trying, a little bit different. Where I'm currently employed, we don't usually do a whole lot with fundraising in regards to for the employers, but they do a lot of fundraisers for different organizations through them. And I sort of want to try to
be able to do that through them. I want to try to talk to them about the ride a little bit more. This year I sort of got in a little bit more, but for me, I'm going to try each year, not all at once, but each year I just want to try to inch a little bit closer just to see how far I can go with it. Because if I could get on with them and they could push the ride and just being able to fundraise, that would get a lot more traction than just, myself being, hey,
sure. For sure.
Because the best I did was last year where I got $2,000, and I hope to get there again this year. But
so that's the most you've raised, $2,000,
right?
And you're at what'd you say, 1,100?
Yes, I'm at 1,100 right now,
and it's next month.
Yes, so I'm gonna have the drawing July 4th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
that's good.
I thought that was pretty good. Have started off in June and then
yeah. And most people, are you doing it live or are you just?
This year I'm gonna do a recording of it.
Yeah.
So just because of last year how I was nervous and
right,
because I get that. What I had was in front of me. I had everything broken down like numbers wise, and I was going to say thank you to everybody, which I did, but I didn't go into the numbers. Sure. So I started thanking people, and then my mind was just rambling on, and I was like, all right, I'm just losing control of myself here. So I'm just going to here's the winner. Yeah. And I just cut it. Right. I was like, I was embarrassed.
That's happened to us plenty of times.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going to post that sucker. So cool. Thanks for talking to us, man.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for being able to talk about the Pan Ohio ride, because I feel like that's what it's all about, is just getting the word out there for American Cancer Society, the Pan Ohio Hope Ride, what it means and what they do. It's a great cause.
For sure.
Well, we're happy to help with that.
So. I appreciate that.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Later.
Peace.